Hey guys, God's Men of Influence here, and we're doing a special on marriage, love, divorce, what it takes to stay together and have really a happy, successful marriage. As well as afterwards, we're going to ask Dr. Tirabassi a bunch of other questions as well. But I want to just kind of focus in on this because his specialty really is marriage counseling, helping people stay together and do it with the help of the Lord. And I want to start with kind of way back here and then work our way all the way to divorce and that topic. But to start with, I want to know what you believe in as far as marrying young. And I say that because I'm a father of 4, and everybody thinks I'm kind of crazy when I say it, but I kind of hope that my kids find somebody when they're young, have a great relationship with them, experience all these beautiful things together for the first time, and stay together forever, right? I know that may not happen, but how beautiful would it be to have that one person for your entire life versus the multiples that society tells us we should do. And if we want to have a successful marriage, we should go have multiple partners. So my first question is, if somebody came to you that was 20 years old and said, we'd like to get married, what's your response? And then if you can, just kind of enlighten us on your opinion on that whole topic.
Yeah. I think if we just use age as our only criteria, that becomes problematic because there are 20-year-olds who are very mature and there are 20-year-olds who are very, very immature. And one of the probably baselines for any good marriage is you've got to be mature. You're not going to be very successful as a husband or as a wife if you're an immature, self-centered, still looking to everything, people to make you happy, and your marriage is only going to be for you to be happy. And so if someone would come to me as 20 years old, I'd be asking them a whole lot of questions, about where they are and what they want out of life, and even their self-control. Like some people, the whole sexual issue. Like, am I gonna be acting out with other people because I have these sex drives, but because I can't get married? So those are deep counseling questions, to be honest with you. So just the age factor is not the only factor. But as I would share with you, if you do research on it, you will find that the higher divorce rate is in the younger people who get married. And by that I'm saying younger, these are 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds are at higher risk for divorce. Just they don't have life experience. The male brain isn't fully developed until you're 25 years old. And so I tell people, you're getting married with a not fully developed brain. So let's talk about this. And
I got to keep my wife from listening to this particular part of the show.
Yeah. So and besides that, as I tell most of my guys, we're all fixated at about the 7th grade level anyway. So when we really like someone, we throw a spit wad at them and think that that's going to be attractive. But that's not the only point. So I think to your desire, there's an idealism in, I think, that wanting to experience everything together. That's great. I mean, that is a nice idealism. I think if they're mature enough and their faith is intact and their maturity is intact, that people can do that. I wouldn't say you cannot do that, and so I don't think age is just it, though.
Do we have any statistics? The divorce rate's so high, but do we have any statistics that show ones that were not just Christian, but active Christians versus ones that weren't?
Yes, I have heard some research, different research on some of this. First of all, the actual rate of divorce everybody quotes is 50% and more, but honestly, most of the research shows that the divorce rate is probably around 37%. That's probably the most accurate divorce rate, is about 37%, which is still very, very high. So you need to do some things to decrease that. A lot of my work is in the pre-marital area. I've been doing that very specifically for 10 years now, I've probably taken well over 3,000 people through premarital programs. And research, there's good research on premarital programs. A good premarital program should decrease your rate of divorce by 35% alone, just
huge.
a program. Our work in our church, we take our couples through a premarital program and we give them a mentor couple for 2 years after they get married to ensure the success of that relationship, or at least to increase decrease the risk of a divorce in those relationships. There still will be, because no matter what, you have mental illness and all kinds of other things, but we've had good results in our research that we've done with our couples that are much more satisfied in their relationship because of the premarital class and because they've gotten good mentor couples. So I train mentor couples. I train 30 different churches come to my premarital program.
So the immature guy gets married, or a mature guy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You're done. You're married. How do you become a good husband? What's the secret sauce in being a good husband?
Number of factors. I think number one is you have to have someone older than you, experienced from you, that you're willing to be humble enough to listen to go through for guidance. As I said in our other show, the scriptures say in the multitude of counselors there's safety. So you have to have good, solid counsel. Pride has to go, because pride's going to take you out of your marriage. And where we're too proud to say we're sorry, where we're too proud to say I was wrong, where we're too proud to say maybe we need to go get some help for this marriage, then you're putting your relationship at risk. So working on that humility, working on resources, right? In any good occupation in your company, you're looking to resource your company with the best possible. And I tell my couples, make sure that every year you go to a marriage conference. It could be a 1 day or a 2 day, but every year go to a marriage conference. Every year read another book on marriage. Do it together as a couple.
Advice.
Every day pray together, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Pray together every day. Every day, one of the things I've taught in my work is a thing called a daily discipline called the 5 A's. And every day I ask my couples to take 3 to 4 minutes. That's all it takes. And you would share some affirmation. I appreciate this about you. Thank you for doing this. Whatever it is, some affirmation. The second is affection, a hug or a kiss. You'd be surprised how many couples will go through the day and go to bed and not even kiss each other, not even hug each other. So they hug, they kiss, a little back rub. It's going to be done in 3 to 4 minutes. Apology. Every day. Is there any way I irritated, frustrated, or hurt you today? And we do this quickly. It's a 3 to 4 minute. Whatever it is, I'm sorry, will you forgive me? We don't go into a big talk about it. Ask, is there anything I could do for you tomorrow? It's the 4th day. And the 5th day is amen. And we just say, how can I pray for you? And the goal is to get this into a 3 to 4 minute discipline that you could do every day in your relationship together. So those, just a tool, an anger management tool, having a tool that when your anger begins to rise, you know exactly what you're going to say. You have a memorized line. We call it a de-escalating line. And when I work with my couples, I ask them, what is your de-escalating line? And if they try to think about it for a while, I go, it's not going to work, because the blood goes from your prefrontal cortex part of your brain to your amygdala. That's where you have fight, flight, or freeze. And it goes from a prefrontal cortex, that's called the executive functioning part of our minds. It goes from there to an amygdala. It can go that in a 32nd of a second. So you can go from a place where you love your wife, she's awesome, and then all of a sudden you can't stand her and you're saying things that are out of control. And if you don't have a de-escalating line, you're at risk in your relationship. So these are some things, that we work on. And I think if you have a timeout process, if you have a de-escalating line, if you have a 5 A's, if you have a conflict resolution system for your relationship, you increase your chances of a very satisfying marriage.
What about praying together?
Yeah. I think there's different strokes for different folks within prayer. I think a lot of that has to do with personality. Some people are very disciplined personality-wise, and if they both are, their prayer life is probably going to look very disciplined. I think some other people are more fly by the seat of our pants, and so they'll pray more spontaneously. So you just have to find for yourself what works best for you. But we all have to move into prayer, I believe, back to intentional. The reason why my favorite scripture is Isaiah 32:8, because a noble man makes noble plans, and by noble deeds he stands.
Yeah.
So I just say, what's your plan for prayer? Well, if you're a spontaneous prayer, then you just pray spontaneously. So if something comes up and you say, let's pray about it. You're on the phone and your wife starts to tell you, hey, it's a mess here at home. The kids are doing these crazy things. You say, could we just take a second right now and pray about it right now?
Got it.
And that makes a difference. It calms her down. Plus, we actually, I believe, we invite God into these situations through prayer.
Yeah, that's really, I get that a lot with my wife, right? Because we have little ones.
Yeah.
And I've never thought about doing that, but that's great advice. I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a call and let you know how that worked.
Good.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about little kids.
Yeah.
Take a few hours of sleep out of somebody's night,
Yeah.
and they become a different person,
That's right.
right? Man or woman.
That's right.
How do you get through those years? Because it seems like those are the years that a lot of people can't get through, or they change as a person. They are no longer the person that they used to be, that you were in love with.
That's right.
And it becomes a problem.
That's right. The top three factors or things that cause divorce are finances, sex, and children and parenting. So what you're bringing about is one of the top three reasons why people divorce. And what happens oftentimes for couples is the kids come along and the kids get all of our energy, the kids get our attention, and the marriage itself starts to lose the focus, especially that it had in the original time. So we have to maintain a intentionality toward our marriages, even when we have 1, 2, 3, 4 or more kids pulling on our strings that want our attention, that have needs. And I would say the best thing you can do for your kids is to love your spouse. If you really want to develop secure kids, don't put your kids above your spouse, because when children see mom and dads loving each other, they see mom and dad holding each other's hands, those kids feel secure in those families. Even though they might not be getting all of the attention they want or crave, they actually, I believe, have more security because they see mom and dad together. When mom and dad start to come apart, insecurity gets into these kids, and you can give them all you want to give them, but that foundation is missing, and that's where we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So I think we miss that a lot of times because of the urgent, the tyranny of the urgent. Like right now, we have to do this, and we believe we have to do this. We just talked before the show, or my wife Becky might call me, and she needs to talk, and we're doing a show, and the urgent thing comes on, and what becomes more important, the show or my wife?
Yeah.
And I, as I said before the show, my wife has to come before the show, or I can be sitting here helping everybody in their marriages, and my own marriage is falling apart. Like, no, we're going to cut the show short a little bit today because I got to go practice what I'm preaching.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, what about divorce? It is an epidemic, and it seems like people are too quick to make that decision. Is there a technique? Is there something you could say to somebody that might be going through that right now that says, hey, take a little cool-off period, try this, try that? A lot of people say we tried counseling, for example. Yeah. Their head was never really there, or they had something going on behind the scenes, and it obviously never works. Yeah. But it sure seems to me like every successful marriage has had one heck of a rocky road at some time.
That's right.
That they figured out how to stick through it, and sure enough, it got better. Yeah.
I would just tell you, there's a great research study that just shows people who endure through their problems, even though they don't get them resolved, in 5 years later, they're happily married, and they didn't even fully resolve their issue. They just stuck with it for the endurance time of their relationship. Now, I don't counsel that as being the wisest counsel, but it makes one point of perseverance and endurance are needed in a relationship. They're needed in every other part, right, of our life.
Yeah.
We don't look at our occupation and go, wow, I had 2 bad months, I'm out of here, I'm going to change my occupation. We try to figure it out, don't we? We go, we need help, or we're going to figure, we're not just giving it up.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing if true for relationships. That's where I'm saying, go to a conference, go read your books. How many books have you read? When I do my premarital work, I say to the couples, they have to come for 5 weeks, 3 hours a day they come, or 3.5 hours. So they're putting in 15 hours before they get married. And some of them, when they sign up, they're like, wow, it's 5 weeks. It's from 8:45 in the morning till 12:30. That's so much. And the first day I have them, I go, so when you decided on your occupation, did you just do 15 hours? Is that what got you there? You spent 4 years, 6 years to do an occupation. Then what's more important, your occupation or your marriage?
Yeah.
But we put so little into our relationships, and we wonder why we switch out of them or why we divorce, because we give up so easily, and there's not truly the commitment there. And unfortunately, in the culture that we live in, it's become are you happy? Everyone just, are you not happy? Well, if you're not happy, get out.
Yeah.
Do we say that about our jobs? Like, if you're not happy this last year, you should just quit your job. I mean, some
the millennials do.
Yeah, well, that's part of the battle, right? Happiness is our God, But so what do? Yes, you go to counseling. People will come to me. Even when I was a counselor, I've retired now, but people would come and say, well, we've tried counseling. And I'll say, well, tell me detail. How many sessions did you have? How many years did you go? Well, we did this. Okay, how many therapists did you try? Did you just go to one?
Yeah.
People who struggle with a mental illness, for example, and they need some form of a drug to take care of whatever it is, the depression, their anxiety. Oftentimes, if you study, you'll see that they had to try 4 or 5 different medications until they found the medication that actually worked for them. If it was a clinical depression or, you don't just go once and go, it didn't work, so I'm not going to do anything. You have to persevere, and it is so we go to counseling. We go to more counseling, and I just say, until you've walked off 5 different therapists after about 3 or 4 years, maybe you got something else that maybe is broken on a deeper level. If you were traumatized as a kid, sexually abused, physically abused, your parents divorced, and it was significant to you. You probably there was abandonment in your life. You have some things going on that are probably deeper than conflict resolution is going to resolve. Yeah. And you're going to need some counseling.
Dr. Tirabassi, I want to thank you for all the insight, and I can't stress enough to everybody how important your marriage is, and if you have children, how important it is to show them what a successful marriage is all about. And what happens is it creates generations to come of successful marriages, which will in turn make a big difference in our society, in our world, and getting more people to heaven one day when it finally happens. So I urge you to truly put out all effort. Like Dr. Tirabassi said, how much time did you put into it? Did you put in as much time as your occupation? What's more important to you? So don't give up lightly on your marriage. Put that time in. It will be the most important thing you've ever done. Thank you.